seething is a fairly common technique for trance induction among traditional witches. And it is connected to Seidhr, which is a Norse pre-Christian paradigm of magic and shamanism. Now, since most traditional witches, tradecrafters, folkloric witches are not out there sharing their particular techniques for seething, I thought that it might be useful to actually talk and demonstrate a little bit of how we do this, or at least to show you the ways that I have come to learn to seethe. These techniques may be useful for you as they are, or they may inspire you to push forward and develop something a little different that works better for you. I'm Lorelei Black, this is Blade and Broom, and let's just jump right into that sweet, sweet witchcraft. I'm going to start with the simplest, least complicated methods and move forward in progression, talking about things that are more complicated. I encourage you to watch all the way through because I'm going to be sharing a technique at the end that nobody is talking about, except for me, I guess. So seething can be used in both trance induction for things like hedge crossing, witch flight, whatever term you call it by, astral travel, in a more modern context. Or it can also be used to raise energy, although we don't see that many historical references to it in that context. What we do see is this idea of trance induction to be able to then engage with spirits on the other side of the veil, to be able to access messages and images, to go on spirit journey, to do soul healing work, to do healing work in general, like physical body healing work, all from that trance place. To do that, you want to start from a place of being grounded and centered. And if you're not sure how to go about doing that, you can check out a video that I did a couple of years ago, linked in the cards and down in the description box below, about how to align the three souls. That's how we ground and center in my tradition. And you're welcome to use this method too. So the first seething technique that I want to talk about is rocking and swaying while sitting down. This method of seething, this method of seething is the most simple and also the most accessible from both a physical consideration and also financial considerations. It doesn't require any tools at all, and it does not require that you get up and move around. I personally like to sit on the ground, but if getting up and down from the ground is hard on your body, then you can do this from sitting in a chair just as easily. Or even on a stool, a tree stump, or a comfy rock. In fact, if you've ever gotten a little bit shifted from just naturally rocking back and forth in a rocking chair, then you've already engaged on some level in seething using this particular method. You can rock side to side, you can rock back and forth, you can sway your body in a circle, you can move from one into the other, you can tap out a beat if that helps, and for a lot of folks it does. You can tap on your chest, you can tap on your belly, you can tap on your legs, or you can use a hand drum or a tambourine if you have one. But if you don't, the body makes a great percussive instrument. The next method is rocking and swaying while standing. I've worked with students who really struggle to raise energy or to get trancy while sitting. And that's cool. You don't have to. It's your magic. Let it loose. Let it move if it wants to. Let it move how it wants to. And all the same principles as in technique number 1 apply here. You can sway and rock in place in whatever ways you like. Again, tapping out a beat or involving your arms in the swaying and making it a full body activity. Seething technique number 3, spinning and mill dancing with a stang or a distaff. Sometimes groups or individuals just want to move, like within space, across an area. It may be part of the ritual plan, or you may just be moved to do so. Pun acknowledged. There is a long tradition in both Norse Seidhr and also in witchcraft from like all sorts of world traditions of dancing. In tradcraft, we tend to call this treading the mill, which is actually a term that can refer to both walking and dancing type movements, but always in a circle. Sometimes you will see this in ritual texts as circumambulation, that literally just means walking in a circle or moving in a circle. There are older Norse texts that actually describe the movements of a seethe kona or a seethe man using their distaff as the axis around which they spin. In witchcraft, we often have the stang at the center of the compass, and it is the axis around which we dance, spin, tread the mill. I recommend letting yourself loose on this. Move in circles with a distaff or a stang in your hand, but don't worry about what it would look like to an audience. This is not performative. The purpose is to shift your energy so that you can let your spirit loose. And that's hard to do if you're worried about how you look while doing it. You do this so that you can access the threads of fate, so that you can read them, so that you can weave them. If the dance that is in you has you looking like a Fraggle, then my friend, let that dance out. And I promise you that the spirits are not judging you. If you're like me and you post it on YouTube, then you might get some judgment. I get that. Okay, so here's the technique that you never hear about. We're going to talk about how the stave and tane are related to the stang and arrow. One of the kennings, or the knowings, sort of intuitive knowings, within my witchcraft tradition among initiate witches is the connection between the witch's stang and the vulva's stave. I've talked a little about this before in a theoretical way, but I wanted to share the practice and practicality of it with you today. If you're interested in that theoretical discussion, it's up in the cards or down in the description box. The Norse word seidhr is connected to concepts of string, hence the use of a distaff style tool. Although this iron distaff, which is made based on grave findings, that there were iron distaffs that were buried with volur, or the plural of vulva, these staff-carrying women. So using a distaff style tool connects you symbolically and energetically with the weaving and spinning of string. Spinning of string and the weaving of fate. It's probably a better way to say that. The word seidhr and the concept of seething are also linked etymologically to seething, the word seethe as in seething, bubbling, boiling, like something in a cauldron. There was a sacred drink that was prepared in a cauldron that seithe kona, seithe man, volur, vulva would prepare and consume prior to engaging in this trance work. That would have been an entheogenic substance that they used in order to help slip them into this work. Our stang, with its two prongs, is an old English style of distaff. It is one that actually was used for spinning. 2 and 3 tines were both used for spinning threads. Now, I'm going to give a little disclaimer here that I have never once heard other witches talking about this next part that I'm about to share with you. Whether they're neo-Wiccan or traditional witches, I've just not heard any discussion on it. If you have, and you have links, please put them in the comments down below, because I would love to see that other people are exploring these threads and have made these connections as well. As far as I know, it's just us out here. Seething, yes. Seething is a fairly common practice, and I hear about that a lot. But this connection between the Stave and the Stang, and specifically the Stave and tane, which is a wand-length thin stick that is used to sort of play the Stave, and how that correlates then to the Stang and arrow. I'm not seeing anybody talk about that, but I want to. It's either one of the best kept secrets in witchcraft, or it's just not a connection that has been widely made. Whatever the case, it is effective, and I want to share it with you so that you can use it too. I've got a link down in the description box about the vulva's stave and how to play it with the tane. The link is to information that is taught by the incomparable Kari Torring, who engages in this work, offers workshops, does performances. She's fantastic. And it is a trancy experience just watching her go into that space. So I highly recommend, if this is of interest to you and you want to explore the techniques, that you start after this video. You start with checking her out and then getting out your Stang and arrow and practicing. So instead of showing you how to play a Stave and tang, I'm going to leave that to the expert, who is Kari. And I'm going to jump ahead to the Stang and arrow, because that's what we're here for. So again, the Stang is a distaff. It is a remarkably potent symbol that represents the horned god, or the witch father, with its iron horns or wooden horns, or a horned animal upon a stick, and also represents the weaving goddess of fate, or the witch mother, and also represents the holy horned child, the world tree, and even Sleipnir, the steed upon whom we can ride, with one of its legs in each of the worlds, or each of the 8 compass points on the wheel of the year. It is a gandra, or gandri, a riding pole, sometimes called a hobby horse. What I'm showing you today is one way to ride that horse. Not every tradcraft group out there uses garlands and arrows in the same way with the Stang. Robert Cochran, E.J. Jones, Shawnee Oates, they've all written about how the Stang is garlanded and decorated with arrows at different points in the year for different rituals within the clan of Tubal Cain, the people of Goda. Nigel Jackson, in his books, if you can get them, writes about how the Stang is adorned in some other ways as well. And I was personally taught something different than all of those, although there are some points of commonality. But my teacher taught some different things about using arrows and various kinds of adornments on the Stang. I'll be doing a video soon about dressing the Stang. One common theme that I have gleaned from across the sources, though, seems to be the use of at least a single arrow at least certain times of the year. So it might not be there all the time, but it is a white-tipped or black-tipped arrow. And sometimes that is switched out, or if they're both used, sometimes the points are up, sometimes the points are down. Those things vary. But at least one arrow. And I think that that arrow is directly linked to the thin, wand-like stick that is the tane in Norse magical tradition. It is used to strike the tang or to run against the ridges to make other kinds of sounds. And it also forms sacred signs in juxtaposition. So the stang alone becomes Isa, ice. And with the arrow, we have now these, need fire. I like to chant something simple while I am tapping the stang and striking the arrow. I've used this in a group setting where I was the only one with a staff or a stang and an arrow, but others in the group were chanting or drumming. And I've also used it alone with superb results. Using this method, it really doesn't take very long to shift your consciousness, and it isn't very challenging necessarily to maintain. Although this one does require tools, this technique does require tools, it doesn't have to be an expensive stang that you've purchased from a blacksmith, you know, or an iron vulva again, purchased from a talented blacksmith. That you don't have to use those. You can use simple branches and twigs that have been stripped of their bark and asked and blessed to do this work. And if you have limited mobility, I promise you, you can still fly. And that's all I have to say about that for today, friends. I cannot wait to hear your thoughts and experiences, comments, questions down in the comment discussion area below. And again, if you have resources about the stang and arrow being used similarly to a stave and tane, I would love to see that. I would love to see where some other witches are using it that way and exploring that. If you decide to engage in this work and post your own videos on Instagram or YouTube, tag me in them. I definitely want to see that. If you found today's chat useful, thought-provoking, or encouraging, please bless me with the magic of the like button and tell your witchy friends that good stuff is happening over here at Blade and Broom. I've got some more resources for you down in the description, so check those out, including links to my witchcraft course and my free app. And if you don't want to wait until next week to check out another video with that sweet, sweet witchcraft, then check out this next one that's coming up. I'll see you soon. Bye, friends.
Here come I to